Alright, so the meat has been dry brining for a little bit over 24 hours now. It's got a really nice coloring to it. You know, you can kind of see we're starting to kind of like brown, dry out. There really isn't a whole lot of salt left on the actual meat itself on the surface. It's all just really kind of buried itself into the meat. Exactly what I wanted. Now I'm going, and I've been letting this sit in the fridge, of course. I haven't been sitting on the counter. In the bottom of the fridge, just on a rack, just like this, on a cooking, on a baking sheet. You know, if you're doing a piece of meat that's going to drip a lot of blood or whatnot, of course you can put it in a deeper pan to make it so you don't get a mess in your fridge everywhere. But this it doesn't, you know, prime rib doesn't really do that. This prime rib definitely did not have a lot of you know, blood and juices spill out, so the shallow pan worked just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and just start seasoning this thing and getting it ready for the smoker. Offset's been warming up for about a little bit over an hour now. It is still cold outside, but it's not cold enough that I can't be outside, which is what I love. So I'm going to go ahead and start this right now. I always like to flip it over and season the side that I'm not going to be season the non-presentation side first. This is also the side that's going to be on the this right here is going to be on the grill of the smoker as well for mine, simply because all the heat flows over the top, because I have an offset smoker. It's a good offset smoker, so the heat flows over the top. So I always do fat side up to protect the meat from that. If you have a pellet smoker, or if you have a smoker that creates heat from the bottom of the barrel smoker, you want to do it fat side down to protect the meat from that heat on that side. So just something to always think about. And you can see here this meat as well. Really, really good coloring from it. Really, this is all from that dry brining, just brining this thing and getting the salt into the actual meat. Drying it out a little bit, but not a ton. Like the moisture is still in the actual meat, which is what I'm looking for. Really going to just kind of plan on doing this kind of like a brisket, using just a light layering of mustard to get it to surface tacky for the rub. I'm not going to over season it. Really want the flavor of the meat to stand out. Really want that dry brining to stand out too, which only enhances the flavor of the meat, right? Like it just makes it richer. It doesn't actually change the flavor. It gives it more. So just a little bit of mustard. I'm kind of planning on this thing being in the smoke, cooking for up to like 6 hours. I'm gonna end up searing this thing also, but I'm going to really try to show the value of the Franklin, and I'm going to show how we can get this thing up to a really, really high temp, and just show that it can be seared. I'm going to test, I guess, to see if it can be seared in there, which I believe that it can be. So that's kind of what one of my plans for today is treat this like a brisket, but of course we're not going to take this to 200 plus degrees. We're going to take this to a reasonable temp. Well, what some people would consider reasonable temperature, and then going to sear it, and then going to slice it. Of course, with resting in between. So, got my rub. Just going to use coarse ground pepper and kosher salt, 50-50 mix, just half and half. You know, when I mix them, I just kind of eyeball it, but if you want to measure it, you can. So it's exactly half and half, but just half and half. Shake it up, get it all nice and mixed well together. Then just start sprinkling it on. You know, really hoping to get some good bark out of this also. This thicker coarse ground pepper is really going to help with that. Going to help to attract smoke and really create a really nice bark, which is what we want. Going to try to get all of these edges, all these sides, get all of this. Move my mustard out of the way. Going to get this and this, just all the way across the front and the back. Again, I don't want to over season the thing. Don't want to make it so that all you taste is pepper and salt. Just want to get it so that it's nice and seasoned. Get it to stick so that we can create a bark. It's really what I'm shooting for here. definitely want the flavor of the actual meat itself to stand out. Still have one hand that's gloved. Can use my other glove that I took off. This is the inside of the glove, right? So it never actually touched any meat. I'm going to try to use this to help me flip this thing over. Perfect. Still have a clean hand. Another light amount of mustard, not a ton. Don't want to make this like, I don't want to coat it in mustard, right? Just want to lightly spread over it to make it just tacky, make it a little bit sticky. Again, this mustard is not going to impact the flavor of this at all. Won't even know it was on there when we go to eat it. I mean, I'll know it was on there, but you guys will know that it was on there, but nobody else will. Again, just lightly seasoning the thing. Don't really want to go super heavy. Don't feel like I need to on something that already has a lot of flavor. So, and again, you know, with the salting of this with the dry brining that I did beforehand, same thing I would do with a steak. So really, I guess we're kind of treating, I mean, because this technically is ribeye, steak's just not cut up, we're technically treating this like steak and a brisket, I guess, combined. So we're going to try to do a little bit of the best of both worlds, best of the steak world, best of the brisket world. So, got this thing seasoned. What's next? Pretty sure I measured the length of this thing. Pretty sure I'm just going to be able to set it straight on, just like this, onto the grill. So it's all the way across along the width, as opposed to having to turn it and having it going long ways into the smoker. This way, hopefully, it'll keep it all even. Going to put some probes in it, put 2 in the middle, 2 on the ends. Just make sure that I'm watching the temps, watching how they're rising. If I know my smoker as well as I do, I know it does have some certain parts of it that there's some veins and some parts of my smoker that will heat up faster than others, just the way they all are. It's important with any smoker you've got to really learn the hot spots of it and the cool spots, and learn where things cook faster, where things cook slower. I've done that with mine. I've done it with all of mine. The smoker that I have now, my Franklin pit, it's my 4th one that I've owned. I've intimately learned all of them. Anyways, going to put 4 probes in here to make sure that I know if one side's cooking faster than the other, I may get in there. Don't want to have to do it, but I may have to kind of flip it or orient it around differently so that it will actually cook evenly. You know, and this is not my prime rib. This is actually my mom's that bought it. So cooking it for Christmas Eve, and I have lots of people in my family that like different temperatures for their meat. For me, I would pull this thing at 130, sear it, and call it a day. But I have some people in my family that like it to be a little bit more well done. I know. You don't have to tell me. We're kind of killing this thing, but it's okay. Everybody has their different likes, their different dislikes, and when you're cooking for lots of people, you kind of have to learn to accept that not everybody likes things the way you do, and you kind of have to accommodate people. So, going to try to make it so that the ends here are what's going to be more of the well done or mid well done. In the middle, of course, your medium and to your mid rare, right in the center. So that's what my goal is. Don't know if I'll be able to achieve it, but that's really what I'm going to try to do. Temperature in here, again, treat this thing like a brisket. Probably start around 255, 260, maybe 265, but I'm not gonna be very long before I'm gonna ramp this thing up to 275 and really get it going. Should cook at about 1 pound for every 20 minutes at 275, which will get this thing done in about 6 hours. It says about 16.5 pound prime rib. And then the other thing is I'm going to make sure I have some cider vinegar handy. Hopefully I don't have to use it very much or at all. But if I do, just kind of monitor this every hour or so. Maybe, at first I'm going to let it go for a lot longer than an hour. Then after that, just kind of monitor it every hour. Look for any spots that are drying out on the edges and just try to hit them with the cider vinegar to keep them moist. But really, I think that's pretty much it. I'm gonna make it so that the fatter side is facing the firebox, so I don't dry out this side over here that's a little bit thinner. So that way, really cook this end first and not, and hopefully not dry out the thinner end over there as all prime ribs have. So many of you know, that my wood that I use is not kiln dried. It's naturally seasoned. I get it from someone here local. Because I get it from somebody local, I typically buy it in bulk. I usually get at least a third cord at a time, and then I just kind of have to chop it up and split it myself. These people sell mostly to restaurants that use bigger cookers than what I use. So there, the wood is really meant for them. So I usually have to get out my saw, chop it up, and then split it also. And then I have a holder, just a rack that I put the wood on, that I keep it covered so I can keep it dry. The problem with my holder is that the one I have now is it doesn't hold quite a third cord. So I usually end up having to kind of stack it on the side in the summertime and keep it from getting wet. That way, in the summertime. This last order of wood that I got was in the late summer, and I didn't quite use up my covered wood fast enough before the snow came. The snow came earlier this year, so I ended up having a small stack of wood that got snow on it, and it's just kind of been sitting, and I've been waiting for a day like today where it's a little bit drier, that I can, with a break in the weather, that I can start to dry it out. You can see in the background back there I got some wood around my fire pit that I'm using to dry it out. So I just want to kind of show you guys, what I've come up with to dry out wood, get it so that it can be used soon. So I'm just going to kind of show you guys what I've got going on right now. So right here I've got just some logs that I'm drying out on top of my firebox while I'm just got it going. Figured I'd put some on here. This is something that I don't normally do. I typically never will preheat logs. I just never found that I've really ever needed to. Normally I keep them down here, and down there they get plenty of heat from the firebox to light very quickly. But up here I'm just trying to dry some logs out. You want to be really careful when you put logs up here. Watch for when they stop steaming, so that you can know when they're dry and pull them off, because they will catch fire up here, believe it or not, if you leave them up here long enough, and you will have a bunch of logs going full blaze on top of your firebox, which none of us want. So watch for that. And then over here, here's the rest of my logs that I split this morning, and they're just kind of sitting around a fire. I got the controlled fire in the middle. I don't feel like I have a bonfire going, but it's a pretty good sized fire going, and all the logs around drying out. You can see right there some of the steam coming off of them right now from the logs drying out. So just kind of like with the firebox, really want to watch over here. Want to make sure that none of these catch fire. Watch them once they do start to dry out. I'm going to just go ahead and stack them. Over here, this is what I use to store my wood that I was kind of talking about. So they're all just stacked in here. These logs have been in here for quite a long time, and they're all dry and ready to go anytime I need them. But I'll probably just stack my logs over here on this side for these ones that I'm drying now. That way I can know which ones not to use the next few times, but get them under here, get them covered, and keep them from getting wet again is really the goal. So really just wanted to kind of show you guys what I'm doing right now, a little side project that I'm doing while I'm making this prime rib this morning. There's my log splitter that I use, just an electric one. I used to just use just a normal mauler and a wedge, and sometimes a hatchet and a hammer, but ever since I started buying in bulk and having to really just split all of these logs by hand and chop them all myself, I've invested in an electric log splitter to make my life easier. It's really helped out a lot, saved my back a ton. So something I recommend for anybody in my position that needs to split a lot of wood, get a log splitter. It'll save your life. Now we'll go ahead and take a look inside the cook chamber. So I've got the water pan going. So here's the prime rib, looking really, really well, really, really great. Really liking the coloring of it. Really coming along well. fat is really starting to develop a nice bark. Got some good coloring there. You can see the 4 meter probes that I've got in there, just going all the way across. So we can make sure that we're just getting a good accurate temperature reading of everything, of all the meat all the way across. Really, really important. Haven't had to use the cider vinegar yet, which I'm really liking. We're about 2.5 hours into this cook, so coming along really, really well. Really pleased with it. Update on my wood project, side project. Here's some more logs that are on here just drying out. Pile over here is diminished significantly. I'm really, really happy with how the logs have been drying out. I'm trying just to get the outsides dried out. Don't want to totally dry them out to where there's no moisture at all, of course, but definitely want to get them dry so they can light. I really feel like that I'll be able to use these on a future cook. I may have to pre-warm them on top of the firebox like these ones are, but I feel like that I'll be able to use them sooner than later, which will make it so I don't have to go out and buy any bags of wood or any bundles of wood. This will get me through till spring so that I can get me through till spring until I can get my next large order of wood in. So we'll check back soon and show you how it's looking when it gets closer to being done. Okay, so here it is. It's coming along really nicely, looking really well. I backed the temp way, way down on it, just really trying to get it so that, it's getting close to being done, and just trying to do what I normally would do. Even in a brisket, I would back the temperature down at the end and just kind of let it finish cooking all the way to the end, and kind of let it slow down a little bit. Let it almost like it's starting the resting period in the cooker, even though it's not. Part of the fat's kind of peeled back on it, but that's okay. Still looks really, really good, really, really great. Still getting some nice coloring, some nice bark on it. I'm going to go ahead and close this lid so we can keep it going, but really, really happy with this, really, really pleased with it. I think it's going to turn out really well. Just wanted to give everybody an update. It's been in there for about 4 hours. Okay, so the meat is now registering at a temperature where it's ready for me to pull out. I'm going to pull it out and rest it. So we've kind of accomplished exactly what I was wanting to. The ends here are both registering at about 150 in the 150s. The middle probes are registering in the 130s, so the very center is going to be 130ish, maybe a little bit less. So getting exactly what I want, where I got the mid-well to well-done pieces on the ends for people like that, and the medium to mid-rare in the middle for the people who like the mid-rare, which is me. Anyways, I'm going to use my gloves here. Don't want to pick this up with tongs. Really want to be as gentle as I can. Don't want to ruin the bark. Don't want to ruin anything with this meat at all. Just pull it out. Going to set it right here in the pan and just let it rest. So I'm going to let this rest. I don't know, maybe a half hour, maybe an hour. And then eventually what I'm going to do is come out here, get the fire going, just blazing going, and get this temperature gauge up here on the smoker up to about 500 at least. And then we're going to put this in here and sear it. I'm going to sear it for about 2, maybe 3 minutes. I'll sear it for probably about 2 minutes. Then I'll check it, look and see how it's coming along, how it's looking, and if it's not good enough, I'll sear it a little bit longer. May have to rotate it around also to sear both ends. We'll see how it's going to turn out. Never really done this before on a Franklin, but I really, really believe in this thing and know how sensitive it is to temperature and to fire. And I know that when I've seasoned it before, I've been able just to peg this thermometer, and so I know that I'll be able to get the temperatures up there. Just want to see if this is going to work or not, and see how it's going to turn out. But so far, it's looking really great. Awesome bark, exactly what I wanted to see. Definitely got that smoky brisket flavor, look to it. Right here, where the fat kind of like split apart, kind of broke up our bark a little bit, but that's okay. And that's to be expected, and not much I can do about that. Just the way it happened. So, but again, everything looks really good on this. Really happy. You can actually take it inside. It's freezing cold out here. Don't want this thing to come down in temp too quickly. So go get this set up, and when we're ready to start searing it, I'll be back to show you guys the sear.